Hey, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to be going over a very underrated set, the Ice Station Odyssey. Typically this set is completely overlooked, I have in the past, because upon first inspection the abilities seem pretty bad. For example, whenever hero inflicts stun or dizzy on a foe, there's a 65% chance to inflict 1 stack of damage over time for 1 turn. That is a pretty much useless ability since really the only unit that's going to be stunning on a space team is Reed. Maybe Redbeard if you add him to the team, but if you're running space, just Reed, and there's even then only a 65% chance for 1 stack of damage over time for 1 turn, which is not that great. So these abilities don't look amazing. However, this first ability here can be extremely powerful up against a Ninjago team. Now, if you're using space up against pretty much any other team, the Galaxy Explorer is going to be the better option. Even just this ability right here is better than pretty much the entirety of the Ice Station Odyssey, which gives a 50% chance to dispel all buffs from the foe whenever a space hero deals damage, among some other stuff as well, and there's 4 other abilities on this set. But that 50% chance to dispel buffs is very useful up against Scarlet or Castle teams in general because the taunts can sometimes get in the way. But it's not the same story for Ninjago, and the Ice Station Odyssey is actually a much better set, as we'll see in some footage here in just a second. Now, the reason this first ability is so good is because at the max level, it will give a 20% speed increase to space heroes. It also gives some skill to chill heroes and a 10% defense increase to everyone else, but the speed here is the key component. Because the tricky thing with Ninjago teams is Lloyd always goes really early into the battle, not necessarily first if Wu's there, but he'll go really early, use his stealth ability, and then you are forced to attack him since there are very few counters to stealth currently in the game. Kartovsky does have some anti-stealth mechanics, but they're not the best, and he's a very difficult master shop farm, although he was recently added to the Blackturn brick pace, but even then you won't be able to get too many tiles of him, and even at 7 stars he's not going to be great for actually countering stealth. Now this right here is a perfect counter, because this skill increase allows Kelvin, Locust, and Quincy to all go before Lloyd. And if we take a look at Kelvin, as we all know, she has this pep reduction ability, so you can actually use this on Lloyd to reduce his pep, and then you get some time to target whoever you want, and then you could potentially then stun Lloyd with Reed. Now, while Reed by himself will not be fast enough to go before Lloyd, even with the 20% speed increase, the pep reduction from Kelvin on Lloyd gives Reed a shot to actually stun him. Or you can use his ability to stun a different unit while Lloyd has still not used his stealth ability. So of course Wu is going to stealth a unit, but you will get this shot to attack another unit, so you'll probably want to go after Jay or Garmadon if he is available, perhaps even Kai. It really just depends on who is not under stealth at the time. And this can be very useful for quickly taking out a unit, hopefully before Lloyd gets to his stealth. Of course, if you don't play it perfectly, that won't happen every time, but there is a lot of potential there to play it in a way that allows you to get a pretty big advantage early on into the battle, and from there you can win pretty easily, since generally Ninjago teams are not the best on defense. Pirates are typically better for defensive teams, and there are a decent amount of counters to Ninjago, Space, and the Ice Station Odyssey now being one of them. Okay, so now let's take a look at some footage of this team in action. This clip was sent to me by EMZ, who actually brought the Ice Station Odyssey to my attention and just how good it can be, so thanks to him for that. But let's take a look at this clip. So he actually decides to go after this level 55 Ninjago team with both Lloyd and Master Wu at gear 7. So it's a pretty solid Ninjago team. Garmadon is in there as well, and of course Jay and Kai. Now, as he said to me, he didn't play this perfectly, but he was still able to win pretty comfortably because this team does work quite well. So you can see Quincy gets to go before Lloyd, and he puts the buff immunity on Jay, meaning that Jay will not get that stealth from Lloyd when he eventually uses that ability. Let me pause here for a second. As you can see, he did not use the pep reduction on Lloyd, instead he chose Jay. That's an interesting choice, but here, since Jay won't get the stealth anyway, doing some extra damage to him might actually be a good decision, because you can hopefully get Jay out pretty quickly after Lloyd uses his stealth ability. So now Lloyd uses it, and Jay does not go under stealth because of the buff immunity from Quincy. Then he stuns Jay to do some more damage and finishes him off with Redbeard's basic right here. And there it goes. Jay is now out of the battle, and now it's just left with the other 4. By the way, Quincy here is only 4 stars, I believe, and being a pretty effective unit, actually. His healing is pretty solid for just being at 4 stars. Here uses basic to clear the dodgy with Reed, then a basic attack there, 2700. It's funny that a 4-star Quincy does more damage than a maxed 7-star Dwayne. That's a topic for another video, though. And here he's now going after Kai, since he does not have stealth. And there he goes. I think he'll get him out with this attack here. And yep, there goes Kai. So it's actually working very well, even though Lloyd and Wu are both gear 7 here, and the team is level 55. So Space can be very effective against Ninjago, especially with that Ice Station Odyssey set, because if you can go out ahead of the team, as we saw, you can get out a unit pretty quickly, and in this case, he put the buff immunity on Jay, and since he did land that buff immunity, he decided to continue to go after Jay and not do the pep reduction on Lloyd, which ended up working pretty well. Now, personally, one thing that I'm really interested to see is how well this team will do with Jens in there instead of Redbeard, and with a 7-star Quincy, and I think it will be really, really good. Jens looks like a fantastic unit. I cannot wait to unlock him. Currently, he's a 10-tile unlock. I wonder if they'll change that. We'll have to see. If not, we should unlock him pretty quickly after raids are released, and we can start doing some testing. Now, one thing I do want to mention with the Space team, and Kelvin specifically, is her AI is really, really bad. The damage block buff is very useful, but only if it's put on a good unit that actually needs it, like Locust, who is taunting. However, on defense, Kelvin will just put it on whoever she feels like. There's really no rhyme or reason to it, which is very strange since other units that give stuff to characters like Yuppie always chooses attacker, same thing with Gorwell. They're very smart with how they use their targeted abilities. But for some reason, Kelvin does not do the same. She does not give the damage block to a unit that actually needs it. So I wonder if that will be changed, but until it is, Kelvin is not the best for defense. She's pretty good for offense, still struggles on defense. So perhaps Cold will work better instead of Kelvin, and Jens instead of Redbeard, and that could be a pretty solid Space team long term, with the Ice Station Odyssey up against Ninjago, and the Galaxy Explorer against every other team. Now, one last thing that is worth mentioning is the Ice Station Odyssey actually uses tier 4 set tools at the last level for these abilities, at least for the first one. Not sure about the other 3, I assume they do, but I know for a fact that the first ability does use tier 4s on that 5th tier, which might sound bad, but actually I think it's a pretty good thing, because we've been getting a decent amount of them from timed quests. And actually, if I go to the event store right here for this event, you can see that I have 41 of these tier 4 set tools. Didn't even realize I had this much just from the time quests. I've been getting a decent amount. So that should actually be a freebie for that last level for most players, because you'll probably have a small supply of those tier 4 set tools that you didn't even realize you had. But with that said, this does use tier 2s, and I believe tier 3s to actually get to that level, so it is pretty pricey, but if you have those lying around, this set can be quite effective. So yeah, definitely don't sleep on the Ice Station Odyssey. It may be more effective in the future, and it's already pretty solid right now. I mean, for one, I know the EMZ has been using this exact team that he shared with me to climb into the top 10 of his shard pretty comfortably for a little while now. So thanks again to him for actually sharing this footage with me. It's very, very impressive stuff, and I'm glad to see that the Space faction may have a shot at being the meta after all, especially after Jens is released. But alright, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.